sending me beautiful photos. Okay. So I'll press record. Okay, do it.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وفقها في الدين يا رب العالمين. وفقنا للعمل بما يرضيك عنا وإلى غيرك لا تكلنا. افتح أقفال قلوبنا بذكرك وألهمنا شكرك واجعلنا من أهل معرفتك ولا تجعلنا من الغافلين. تب علينا توبة نصوحا يا رب العالمين، وارزقنا حسن الخاتمة آمين. This is the last session of the book of Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala, Kitab al-Arba'in fi Usul al-Din, the 40 principles of the Deen. So we started last time the last chapter, which is a debate between al-Ghazali and himself. And he's saying that we should do this to ourselves. So instead of debating with people, you come and debate with yourself and try to convince, as you try to convince your opponent that you are right and his method or his way is not the right way, your way is the right way, and the like of it. So he's saying, let's do this to ourselves. And this is where we benefit the most. So he took us through this beautifully, rahimahullah ta'ala. And we already started last time, few lines from that. That English translation is not accurate, I told you, regarding the title. It just put a title which is not really reflecting the Arabic. Arabic is munadharatun nafs. Munadharatun nafs, literally, it means debating with yourself. I know for some of you it's a bit new, but again, last time we mentioned that this is a common thing. The scholars of spirituality and tasawwuf and so on do this a lot in their books. And I've given you some examples as well from Ibn Atta rahimahullah and Imam al-Muhasibi, which is in the 3rd century, before even Imam al-Ghazali, who was in the 5th century rahimahullah. So Ghazali rahimahullah, he says, after all of these chapters which we went through with you, so you should be able now to reap the fruits of these chapters. But there are steps to be followed. And he's taking us through these steps, rahimahullah ta'ala. So he said, number one, you have to strive to empty your heart every time after Fajr prayer, and you have to empty your mind as well. And you think about your life and your afterlife. And take yourself into account and do accountancy with yourself. Go through your files, your actions, your deeds, your intentions, and so on. And then tell yourself the following: I am a traveler doing business in my travels. So you travel to do business. And of course, if you are running a trade, you need to have a capital and you need to have a profit. Otherwise, it's not worth it to do a business if you are going into loss. So tell yourself that you are a businessman who's traveling to do trade, and your profit will be the everlasting bliss and everlasting happiness, and to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And your loss will be the everlasting, God forbid, misery, and to be veiled from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And your capital is your life. This is your capital. So every breath you take, it's a treasure from treasures, and a gem from many gems. And through this, you get into the everlasting happiness. Can you see any treasure better than this? Nevertheless, if your life finished and your business stopped, then you have desperation. But of course, today is a new day, and Allah has given you a new chance. So again, you are talking to yourself. So you say to yourself, today is a new day. I'm not dead yet. Allah has given me a new day, a new chance, a new capital to do business with Him, to make profit with Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what are we going to do with this? Are we going to reap the fruits of this opportunity which Allah has given to us and do a proper business with Him and get plenty of profits? But if we were dead, then we would long to come back. As Allah stated in many verses actually in the Quran, قَالَ رَبِّ ارْجِعُونَ. He will say, my Lord, let me go back. I promise you I'll do better. I'll do good. But that's it. He will not get another chance. If he's being given many chances, and that's the end. So again, he's getting into this debate with himself and saying, look, if you're already dead, you will have these internal thoughts and regrets, and you say, I wish I've done more. I wish I took the opportunity. I wish. But you are not dead. So your wishes can be actions. So activate your wishes and be true to your wishes and say, yes, Allah has given me the chance. So let me take it to the fullest and apply it and benefit from it. Then he said, imagine if you really were dead and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the chance to come back to the dunya. Imagine, for one day. What are you going to do with this one day? And we have an exercise similar to this, although this is probably the third time I read this text. But when we did the exercise, it was probably 7-10 years ago in one of our retreats. It was a workshop. So imagine planning to the akhirah. This was the exercise. Imagine if you have 1 month to live. Write a plan for 1 month to live. Then we reduced it. Imagine if you have 1 week to live. And then we reduced it if you have 1 day to live, what your priorities will be. And then you can see from 1 year to 1 month to 1 week to 1 day, you see what you considered a priority in 1 year. It's not a priority in 1 month. It's not a priority in 1 week. It's not a priority in 1 day. So you take the 1 day, which Ghazali is mentioning here, and apply every day, which is a very useful exercise, but it takes courage and patience to do that. So he's saying, imagine if you've been given this 1 day to come back from the akhirah to the dunya, after you have all these regrets and all the stuff around you, and you already seen what happened to those who did not do good. And you said, no, just I'll do good. Give me 1 day. And you've given this day. You've been given this day. What are you going to do with this day? So Ghazali is saying, rahimahullah, strive towards maximizing the benefit of this day. So that's the end. You won't be able to be given another day. So see what you are going to do. So definitely, number 1, you will do your prayer properly. You will have khushu' in your prayer. You will do your dua and supplication properly. You beg Allah and ask Allah for good stuff and good things and purity and good intention and good action. If you have any quarrels, any issues with anybody, you go and sort it out and seek their forgiveness. If you have taken some money from somebody, you will return his money to him or her, and so on and so forth. So you sort out your things, you just focus on the main priorities. You do charity, you do this, you do that, and so on, with this very limited time. And then Ghazali says, rahimahullah, if you've done your best, you will not regret. You said, that's the best I can do. I've exhausted myself in every single minute to do the best I can. I can't do more than this. Then replicate this on a daily basis. So you imagine this was a day, but reality is more likely you have more than 1 day. Allahu Alam, of course, but generally speaking. So replicate this plan to every day. In your salah, in your khushu', in your dua, in your supplications, in your charity, in your fixing relationships and apologizing, seeking forgiveness, the rest of it. Then you won't regret. You won't say, I wish I've done this, I wish I've asked for forgiveness. You already done this. And then he said, and don't fool yourself by saying, yeah, but you know, Allah Ghafurun Rahim, I will be forgiven. He said, this is a false hope. And then you will regret it when there's no time to benefit from your regret. In dunya, you can benefit from regret when you go and fix it. But after death, you have regret with pain and nothing else. You can't fix it. You're done. So don't fool yourself. And even for argument's sake, you've been forgiven, which is possible. Allah might forgive you and can forgive you, subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what's wrong with you? Have you not lost the big opportunity to be among al-muhsinin? To be on the higher rank? Why do you accept to be on the lower rank? Why do you accept to be in the zero ground or ground zero? Why? Why don't you be in top floor? In the penthouse? Why not? And you will get the bitterness of regret. It will eat into you. I could have done this. I could have reached the highest level. I could have reached even the middle level. But I was relaxed. I was just wasting my time. I was wasting my life. You see. So it's now running before your eyes. Take it. And utilize it. Then he's using this debate and reply. So you are telling yourself, and yourself is telling you now. And yourself will tell you, okay, what shall I do? How do I do this? Then you tell yourself, leave everything that will leave you after death and stay with the one who will never leave you after death. And what was that? Or what is that? Allah. Whether you are alive or you are dead, Allah is always there for you, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is priority number one. Leave everything that distracts you from being connected to Allah Azza wa Jalla. Leave everything that leaves you after death. Then seek Allah and increase your remembrance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then yourself will reply to you, how do I leave the dunya? And it's already resided in my heart. How can I do this? Then tell yourself, cut any distractions from the bottom of your heart that keeps you away from Allah Azza wa Jal. Any distraction. And then he said, remember what we told you in the last 10 chapters, the 10 principles which we mentioned under that distracting traits which you should get rid of. In that chapter, Imam al-Ghazali mentioned 10 traits which you should get rid of it. He said, imagine, and he's referring us to that. So go back to these bad traits and search for these traits in you. Whether it's loving the wealth or loving status or having grudges or having control of, or you are controlled by your desires, and the rest of these distractions. Go back and see how did we take you through that? How do you get rid of it? And each and every one of these 10, Imam al-Ghazali did have an action plan. And we captured this in our sessions. which been translated into blogs by Sister Aisha, bless her. So go back and check how do I get rid of these traits, bad traits. Then you think about these bad traits and how destructive they are, and they can destroy you. Then you roll up your sleeves and you strive against these traits. And you can do that by Allah's support, subhanahu wa ta'ala, and His grace. Then Ghazali said, so, rahimahullah, then tell yourself, imagine if you are ill, a chronic disease, illness that will never leave you, and doctors told you, that's it, it's a chronic disease, it will last with you till you die. And accordingly, they prescribe for you from a trusted, knowledgeable doctor. They prescribe for you special diet to follow, special medicine with certain times, certain doses, to do. So if you want definitely to live, you have to follow the diet, and you have to take your medicine on time with the right doses and what have you. Why? Even if these medicines were bitter or disgusting, or you will strive and struggle and swallow it. You will swallow it and take it with the bitterness. And why do you do this? Because you are aiming for cure. And you are aiming for healing. So you get all this patience in place, and tiredness and pain, because you know that the end of it is good for you. So you can take on board things that you don't like if it's beneficial for you. This is the trick. Then tell yourself, even if you are a traveler, you have to strive to get home. It might be a long time journey. You have plenty of stations, you have plenty of difficulties on the road, etc. But you carry all this burden because you know that you will reach your destination and see your family and have rest and reach home. Similarly, in our journey to Allah Azza wa Jalla, you should do this. Should have patience, should have trust in the recipe and the prescription and the diet and the instructions which we received through the revelation. Don't do this. Yeah, it's bitter, it's difficult. Yes, that's fine. Because the end result is for your own benefit. As you have practiced patience in that imaginary scenario that you are ill and you want to be cured through that medicine and diet and what have you, then you can do this with the dunya. And then tell yourself, what are you after from this dunya? What do you want from this dunya? If you are if you are after wealth and you got it, there are many other people who are much wealthier than you. So what have you done? What kind of aim you have achieved? If you are after status, there are many other people better than your status. Even if you got status, there's always somebody who's better than you. So if you cannot get the ugliness of the dunya and the destruction of the dunya, if you can't understand this, then it will pull you with it down. But on the other hand, if you were to renounce the dunya, pull it, uproot it from your heart, and you are fully focused on the akhirah, then you will reach a level that many people can't reach. So if you are into achieving a good level, then this is what you should be aiming for. Not wealth, not status, not this, not that, but what really benefits you in the akhirah. And then Ghazali he's saying, don't be like the fool. If you were to compete in dunya, there are plenty of other people competing in dunya. So don't be like a donkey in the race. Don't. Think about yourself. Think about your akhirah. Because if you don't do that, no one will do this to you. And you keep doing this, Ghazali is saying, until you feel yourself is listening and convinced and is getting on the right path, which pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says, you know what? This debate and argument with yourself is much better if you were sane enough than debating with the Hanafi school or the Mu'tazili school or other schools. And why do you debate with them in the first place? Even if you have a different opinion, it won't affect you. And even if they were wrong, so in the debate scenario with these schools, many times, and Ghazali is talking about this because he's the expert in debates and arguments and showing proofs and evidences, until he's being called Hujjatul Islam, the proof of Islam, because of his qualities in debate and convincing, rahimahullah. And he's saying here, even if you were to present them with the best proof, they might not accept it. And you might not accept their evidences or proofs as well. So he's saying you are just after these things and you left in you your enemy, and you are not debating with your enemy. The real enemy is within you, your nafs. So it's insane to go and debate with other people whilst the first thing should be done is to debate with your enemy that is within you, your nafs. And Ghazali is saying, I wonder, you are doing the opposite. Instead of debating and arguing with yourself, you are feeding your nafs, you are feeding your desires, you are helping it to be worse, not better. And instead of stopping yourself going astray, you start getting into tricks, all tricks that in the book to circumvent this ruling or that ruling, to go from the back door, to go from the window, to go from the roof, to get into what your desire dictates on you. And he's saying, what can you say about this? Is it not the upside down scenario? Is it not the big loss? So why I'm doing this to myself? And then Ghazali says, have you ever seen somebody who has under his dress snakes and scorpions, and instead of getting rid of them, he took a fan and he was getting rid of some of the flies from someone else's face? What do you say about this person? So he's saying, you are like this. If you have these snakes under your clothes and scorpions just coming to bite you, or even started biting you, and instead of getting rid of them, what do? You take a fan and you try to get rid of some of the flies from someone else's face. Not from your face, from his face. What's that? Then Ghazali says, you should know, when you are doing this, debating with others rather than debating with yourself, so you are going in the wrong direction and ignoring facing yourself, facing your reality, instead of escaping your reality. And there's even a special terminology they use today. They use the escapism. And in some other scenarios, they use the brushing under the carpet. Yeah, we are very probably experts in doing these two, the brushing under the carpet thing and the escapism. So instead of escaping your reality and escaping this one-to-one, face-to-face debate with yourself, you are just ignoring this. Only when you do this, you face yourself, the reality will be revealed to you. And then you will be able to see the core of your action, the spirit of your action, if it's a lifeless or if it's a lively action. And why do I need this? For the day when you can't do any action or any deed. So fix it now before you regret. And Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala is saying here, I already warned you in the previous chapters about the secrets of the akhirah and the secrets of the actions and the core of the actions. So if you are not getting this debate with yourself and sorting this out, your nafs will not allow you to have an intimate discourse with Allah Azza wa Jal, or having a closeness to Allah Azza wa Jal. Because your nafs is your destruction. And I can give you a very easy example to understand. For instance, if you want to pray proper prayer, you are not allowed to eat and drink during your salah. So you are controlling your desire to eating and drinking. In Ramadan, you increase this and extend it. So in salah, for instance, 5 minutes, no food, no drinks, no intimacy during salah. In Ramadan, Allah is teaching us to extend the control over the desire. So from dawn to dusk, instead of 5 minutes, it's 12 or 15 or 17 or 12 hours, depends where you are and which season and so on. So definitely more than 10 hours, 15 hours sort of. So this extension, Allah is training us how to control our desires. Why? Because the more we control our desires, the more we get close to Allah Azza wa Jal. The more we can have this debate with ourselves, the more we can have control over these destructive traits. So in Ramadan, which we are probably 1 week from Ramadan now, in Ramadan, it's a training school. Teaches us how to get more into control and accordingly get more into closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then don't forget the last 10 nights of Ramadan, you have the i'tikaf and supplications, and again and again, it's about getting closer and closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you get closer to your desires, you get far from Allah. You get distant from your desires, you get close to Allah. So this is the equation. The more you feed your desires, the more you are away from Allah. The more you control your desires, the more you are close to Allah Azza wa Jal. So fulfilling your desires in halal, it makes you close to Allah, of course. Exhausting your efforts, your time, your money, and your life with your desire, then big loss and big regret. Then Ghazali rahimahullah says, the way to treat yourself when it's not listening to you, when it's not obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to punish your nafs. And you can find a way how to control this. For instance, you have the congestion charge zone. Why is it being created in the first place? To prevent people to flood into central London. And why is it? Because two things. Number one is traffic. Number two, pollution. Okay. And how do you stop people from going into central London? If you said, okay, guys, we need to cut down the traffic and we need to cut down on the air pollution. Yeah, it's a good thing. But yeah, I will drive my car today to central London. No, they put in place congestion charge. So you have to pay money, £15. Depends, but generally speaking, £15. So yes, it's a mechanism to reduce the number. Then we should use a mechanism with ourselves as well. So I shouldn't be doing this, but myself is not following, is missing the salah on time, for instance. Then you should have mechanism in place to control yourself. So every time I miss salah on time, I will donate, I don't know, £100. Yeah, don't make it £1. Otherwise, yeah, £1, anybody can pay £1. Make it something a bit big to be difficult to pay, not easy to pay. Or any other mechanism which deter your nafs from getting into this again. Or every time I miss salah, I will fast one day. Yeah, it's not an easy task. Okay, something along these lines. So you train yourself that it's not free of charge. Yeah, you can miss it, you can not do this, you can, and so on. Don't allow it to do this again with you. So put punishment in place. Say, for every missed salah, I will do this. For every missed, I don't know, or a sin, you've done some sins. Every sin, I will donate this amount of money, for instance. Then you keep cutting down. Or you have a habit of backbiting, which is a common habit. Some people say, no, every time I backbite somebody, I need to donate £50, for instance. Then cut down. Don't backbite anyone. And so on. So just identify the distractions, things which are really preventing you from progress. And one by one, try to get rid of them. So you need to have discipline in place. And you know better how to discipline yourself. You say, okay, for this, I need to probably run 10K, or I need to run, or if you can't run, find something else, donating money or volunteering in community service and something along these lines. or doing istighfar 1,000 times, for instance. So he's saying, rahimahullah ta'ala, here, then you should go and identify the destructive traits which you should get rid of, and see which one is more priority than the other. Put them and try to have this debate with yourself and say, okay, I have this, I have this, I have this. So the most important one, which is very annoying, very destructive, is this. And put it priority number 1, and then put priority number 2, and then number 3, and start one by one. Yes. And then Ghazali, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, if you want more of this, unfortunately, this book is very limited book. So you can find the elaboration on this in Ihya Ulumuddin. In a special book he mentioned here, Kitab al-Muhasaba wal-Muraqaba. So it's a special book about accountancy or self-observation. And it's a big book, by the way. And he mentioned many different techniques, Al-Ghazali rahimahullah, in that book. So as you can see, Imam Al-Ghazali rahimahullah did finish his book with this. And he said, we ask Allah tawfiq for us and for you to be among those who are establishing good and goodness and improving their obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seeking His generosity and His grace. Ameen. And this is the end of Imam Al-Ghazali's book, Kitab al-Arba'in fi Usul al-Din, Rahimahullah Al-Ghazali. May Allah reward him abundantly and shower him with His mercy and elevate his status. Rahimahullah ta'ala. Ameen. And that's the end of our book. Inshallah, we'll pick another book we'll read later, inshallah, after Ramadan. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to accept from us our good deeds and forgive us our shortcomings and our sins and our mistakes. Ameen. So I'll open the floor for your questions.
It's been an absolutely incredible and riveting journey through this amazing book, mashallah. You've really brought it to life. You've really anchored it to our reality. Some bits we've had very interesting analogies. We had the dog, the king and the horse. We've had the cave. We've had Salah as a cave. We've had so many. We've had the Salah as a corpse. Throughout the book, there have been so many gems and nuggets to take away. And then, as today's session showed, so many practical pieces of advice on how to take a grip of ourselves and try and hold ourselves to account, which is no easy task. And who better to show us how to do it than Ghazali himself and you, Sheikh, Jazakumullah khair. It was actually really, I think one of my favorites was the 20 rules for dealing with people. I think that was a very exciting part of the book and very relevant to our reality. If anyone has any comments, Isabel's been with us throughout this journey as well, I think. And if anyone else has any comments or questions, please raise your hands and put them on the chat.
It's been probably 2 years journey, something like this.
Yes, it's been 2 years. And we started with the very heavy chapters on Aqidah. And then...
which I skipped a lot, by the way. I tell you the truth. I skipped many pages from the book. And to be honest, just for the record, I did not read every single line and every single word and every single page. No, I just skipped many. For those who were following in the English translation or the Arabic, you will find that I will just jump some pages and some lines and
Yeah.
just do my best to read what is possible to be understood
And
and
you've
relevant.
pointed out it's all the hadith that were weak and all the replace them with the hadith that were stronger, which I think has been a really important exercise.
Yes, yes.
And I think the
skipped many
hadith
of these as
chapters
well.
was zuhud. I think that is still traumatic in my mind, trying to achieve some of those levels.
No, listen, that chapter is being written in the 5th century. So the environment is as well a big influencer, if you want. As I'm trying in my environment now to make the book relevant to the audience. So that the environment where the book has been written and the time is very relevant, if you want.
So we had a good look at the blameworthy characteristics and the praiseworthy characteristics, and I think perhaps we need to revisit the blogs and in Ramadan and refresh our memories on those and see how we can improve ourselves, inshallah, in that time. So if there are no questions, then we can...
Questions or reflections on the book, because we have finished the book. If anyone has any reflection or any testimony, feel free to share with us.
How much after writing this book did Ghazali live or write? Because you said that it was close to his passing away, and so he had...
Yes, more likely. I'm not sure accurately how many days or months or years, but it was towards the end of his life, rahimahullah ta'ala.
And he
among
didn't
the
marry.
last books he has written.
And he didn't marry.
Imam al-Ghazali. No, he did marry.
No, he did.
Imam al-Nawawi did not marry.
Right. And which of Imam Ghazali's other books do you recommend to?
Yeah, well, Ghazali, he wrote in every single science, if you want. He wrote in Aqidah. He wrote in fiqh. He's a very well-known Shafi'i faqih, rahimahullah ta'ala. He wrote in Usul al-Fiqh. Usul al-Fiqh, he has 2-3 books, top books in Usul al-Fiqh. Very complicated to read even. He wrote in philosophy. He wrote in tafsir. He wrote in spirituality and so on. So he has classical fiqh and he has the revival fiqh, which is Ihya Ulumuddin. It's not a classical fiqh, if you want. He just combined it with spirituality. It's not just rules and regulations and do and don'ts. He went through something beyond this, rahimahullah ta'ala. So he called it Ihya Ulumuddin, the revivalism of the sciences of the deen, rahimahullah ta'ala. So there are many chapters being translated from Ihya Ulumuddin in English. Probably the best translation is Abdul Hakim Murad's translation, bless him. Although his language is, mashallah, very high language, many people probably can't read smoothly with these translations, but it's a very high, nice language. There are many other translations as well, good translations you can read. They extracted some of these chapters and made it a standalone book, because the book itself is 10 volumes in Arabic. Depends as well that there are different versions of the book as well. And the best commentary on the book was, or is actually, Imam al-Zabidi, in 30 volumes or 20 volumes. Again, depends which version you have.
And it's just been hugely analytical as well, because he's gone down into the nitty gritty of every single thing, whether it's envy or whether it's jealousy, whatever, gluttony, or every single thing. He's broken it down and
He's
then given
usuli. This is the mentality of the usuli. Usuli, he goes into the roots. He doesn't go to the fruits. He goes to the roots, the usuli. And then he knows where is it coming from. Yes, this is the mentality of the usuli. So he's an usuli and faqih. So he combined between the best of the two worlds, rahimahullah ta'ala, and a Sufi and a philosopher.
Yeah.
Rahimahullah. There's a very short booklet you can read quickly. The first one, which is My Dear Loving Son. And the second one is Al-Munqidh min al-Dalal, the savior from delusion, or it might be a different translation to the name, but something along these lines. Probably I did share it with you some long time ago. So these are two short, good read from Ghazali's literature, rahimahullah.
Okay, Sister Suha's asking if there's any of his books you'd recommend for teenagers.
Ghazali is not for teenagers. No, his language is very different, and it needs some adaptation. What I have done with this, inshallah, this book will be published, but I'm not sure when. I've done some adaptation to the book. So the concepts and the themes and details, beautiful. But the language sometimes it's not very readable for 21st century teenagers.
We have Hajra saying that Fons Baita have published Ghazali for kids, and that can be checked out.
You send me some, I can see, because I haven't seen this yet.
I mean, these tips you gave us just now with Ghazali were combined about, paying for missing salahs and backbiting and, if we were to do that, I think we would.
Yeah, these are my inserts. So
these are you.
Yeah, I just take one line and elaborate on it to make it easy to understand.
If we were to do that, I think we would fix many of our issues very quickly.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
If you can kindly recommend for us 3 basic books for teens, which they need to study, so they have Islam as a lifestyle in their life, please.
You need, number one, some easy book to read in Aqidah, but not in the very theological way. You need something which is easy to understand. It's about belief and Iman and knowing Allah and His attributes and so on. And this is number one priority. Number two, they need to read something related to the Quran. Short tafsir, like for instance, Juz' Amma tafsir, which we have one, inshallah, coming, bi'ithnillah. And there are many other books, of course. I'm not saying it's exclusive. You can have a short tafsir for Juz' Amma. The third one is about seerah. They need to know the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And again, there are very good books on the seerah of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wassalam. My favorite one probably, it's a not short one, but this is one of my favorite, is Sayyiduna Muhammad Rasulullah by Sheikh Abdullah Siraj, rahimahullah ta'ala. I'm not sure if anybody has done a condensed version or a summary of that, because the Arabic one is around 300 pages, but the translation is, the English one is 2 volumes, not big volumes, so around 400 pages. But it's an easy read. It's a nice one. Probably they can read this as well. So these are the priority books for them to read. I'll probably later, inshallah, send you some names. It's not in my mind now. Like the Aqidah one, I usually recommend the Kitab al-Iman by Zandani, rahimahullah, or he probably is still alive, I'm not sure. Kitab al-Iman is being translated to English. You can read with them this book, very easy to read, very nice, and very contemporary, if you want, in Aqidah, the book of faith or belief. Abdul Majid al-Zandani. It's a good book. And there's a summary of Sheikh Abdul Rahman Hamannak al-Maidani's book, Al-Aqidah al-Islamiyya wa Ususuha. There's a summary for that book, short, because the big book is 1,500 pages. But the summary, I still remember a long time ago, probably it's 50, 60 pages, something like that. But I'm not sure if it's translated to English. This is the other thing. So let me see if I can find these short books in English. I'll let you know, inshallah. But it's a good exercise for them to read in Arabic. Why not?
Jazakallahu khairan.
وإياكم.
Do we have any other questions or any comments? I feel like we should start this book all over again, Sheikh. It's going to leave a huge hole on Thursday evenings. It's been a real pleasure to go through this with you. It's been a great choice of book, and we've learned a lot from it, mashallah, in many different aspects of our life. May Allah Ta'ala enable us to apply these lessons and not just use them for entertainment. And may Allah Ta'ala accept it from you and bless you for taking us through this.
May Allah accept it. Inshallah, we'll finish this session and this book with a dua. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. تب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اغفر لنا وارحمنا وسامحنا وعافنا واعف عنا. اللهم اجعل أعمالنا خالصة لوجهك الكريم. اللهم بارك لنا في شعبان وبلغنا رمضان. اللهم هيئنا لرمضان. اللهم هيئنا لرمضان. اللهم هيئنا لرمضان يا أرحم الراحمين. اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولأزواجنا وذرياتنا ومشايخنا ومن له حق علينا ولمن أحسن إلينا ولمن أسأنا إليه واشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين وارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين. صلي وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. آمين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام شيخ، جزاك الله خير.